Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I apologize for my voice. I left it somewhere in Hungary, and I tried to recover it, but even though my voice is weak, I want my message to be strong. There is a fight going on for the soul of Europe. Anti-Semitism is rising, not only on the fringes of European societies, but in the mainstream media, politics, and public speech. I see the walls of new ghettos rising in major European cities. These walls are not made of bricks or boards, but they are walls nevertheless. If Jewish students don't feel safe to use public transportation, then these are indeed walls. If Jewish university students are harassed because of their origin or opinion, then these are indeed walls. If Jewish artists or scientists are denied invitation or publication opportunities because they refuse to publicly denounce the state of Israel, then these are indeed walls. If synagogues and cemeteries are desecrated, Jews are insulted or killed for being Jewish, then these are indeed walls. Europe is now on the verge of abandoning its Jewish communities and its Jewish heritage. If it does so, it will no longer be Europe. It will become something else. This is not only and not even primarily a concern for the Jewish communities. It is a concern for all Europeans because the very foundations of our civilization are at stake. How did we get this far? Europe has a long history of anti-Semitism. It developed from various sources and has been reinvented time and again. Today, we are witnessing the emergence of yet another version of anti-Semitism that is masked as anti-Zionism or anti-Israeli protests. The origins of this new form of anti-Semitism can be traced back to two very different ideologies that don't have too much in common, but manage to cooperate quite well in taking over the streets, newspapers, and even some of the mainstream political parties in Europe. One is the radical version of political Islam, and the other is the new radical left or woke movement. They are both imported to Europe, one from Northern Africa and the Middle East, and the other from the United States. But they adapted quite well to the social and cultural environment in Europe. How come that radical Islam and the radical left cooperate so easily in Europe? And why is Europe defenseless against this new form of anti-Semitism? These are very relevant questions today, and the answers have wide-ranging political implications. Both radical Islam and the woke movement question the Judeo-Christian civilizational foundations of Europe. Radical political Islam wants to replace it with something else. The woke movement simply wants to get rid of it because it is ashamed of its own heritage and alienated from it. The Jewish communities and the Jewish heritage of Europe are an obvious target for these political movements because they tick all the boxes for their respective perceived enemies, and these concepts overlap to a large extent. And, as it has been the case for centuries in Europe, this approach divides European societies and weakens their social immune systems, making way to turn against other social groups later on. We all know very well that it always starts with the Jews, but it never ends with the Jews. But why is Europe so defenseless against the rising anti-Semitism after the experience of the Holocaust? Haven't we spent the past 80 years in Europe building institutions, adopting laws, and educating children so as to make sure that our dark past never returns? I believe it is a self-inflicted wound by Europe. I believe that we have let down our physical and intellectual defenses. Uncontrolled mass migration and the lack of proper external border protection has contributed to a fundamental restructuring of most European societies that now feeds radical Islam inside Europe. Outsourcing the development of our legal systems our concept of human rights and social justice, and our higher education to international networks without any political legitimacy has made Europe defenseless against the intellectual assault of the woke movement. This is the inconvenient truth. To quote a French theologian from the 17th century, God laughs at those who complain about the effects but endorse the causes. It is not possible to fight anti-Semitism if we are legally unable to control our borders and decide who can enter. It is not possible to fight anti-Semitism if universities yield to the argumentation of power instead of the power of argumentation. And it is not possible to fight anti-Semitism if, at the end of the day, there is no political legitimacy behind the legal framework and the institutions that apply it. So, my message is to fight the effects as well as the causes. And my message is not a message of despair. It is a message of hope, defiance, and a call for action. I come from Hungary. I can tell you that it is possible to implement a zero-tolerance policy against anti-Semitism. I can tell you that it is possible to protect our Jewish communities and foster Jewish life. I can tell you that it is possible to build a strategic partnership and friendship with the State of Israel, even under the most challenging circumstances. We are aware of the special relationship between the State of Israel and the Jewish communities in Europe. A lack of partnership, lack of dialogue between the European Union and its member states and the State of Israel, adopting the language of sanctions, exclusion, and isolation is not only counterproductive, it also undermines the credibility of our stance against the rising anti-Semitism in Europe. And it hurts our Jewish communities. Fortunately, we don't have to walk this path alone. We can work with a group of few but very committed, like-minded countries and international partners. And I continue to offer our partnership to all those who fight anti-Semitism anywhere in the world. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you.